Welcome back, everyone. Today's explainer is, well, it's incredibly special. We're looking at something literally every single developer experiences, but we almost never talk about it: the emotional life cycle of a codebase. You know that feeling, right? We're going to explore how a massive, messy project can absolutely drain your passion, and more importantly, how discovering a highly structured, delightful tool can bring it all back. Specifically, we're diving into a fascinating case study from our source material about a developer who escaped a towering, unwieldy Lua project by discovering the Odin programming language for game development. Okay, let's dive into this. Our source developers started out building a fun tower defense video game. And at first, it was this massive burst of creativity. But fast forward a bit, and they hit an absolute brick wall. The core issue is captured perfectly right here. When a dynamically typed scripting language like Lua scales up to 70 or 80,000 lines of code, the foundation just starts to crack. Things go wrong, the logic gets horribly tangled, and the whole project simply collapses under its own scripting weight. So here's our structured roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the Lua scaling problem. Second, why Odin actually fits game dev so well. Third, explicit function overloading. Fourth, smart structs and memory management. And finally, returning to joyful coding. We're going to connect these hard technical features directly to that emotional journey of coding. Let's get right to it. Section 1, the Lua scaling problem, from jam to jammed. Let's step back for a second and look at the origin story of this towering code monster. So our source developer originally spent a week locked in a room with friends, including legendary pixel artist Adam C., to build a tower defense game from scratch using Lua and the Love2D framework. It was your classic, high-energy, 7-day game jam. And they actually came back later to expand it. They built these complex UI systems that could dynamically expand and reduce without hard coding. They implemented an awesome animation system. I mean, it was really starting to look and feel like a proper, fleshed-out video game. But despite pouring their heart and soul into the project, it just stalled out. It ended up completely abandoned for a long time. And this is exactly why. 80,000. That was the line count of the Lua codebase. At 80,000 lines, the sheer lack of strict structure in a scripting language creates severe development friction. Every time you add a new feature, you risk breaking 3 old ones. But, rather than let the project die, our developer had this crazy idea. What if they rewrote the entire game from scratch, but this time used a strictly typed, compiled language that's actually built for the rigorous demands of game programming? Section 2, why Odin fits game dev, the no-dependency dream. That crazy idea led them directly to Odin. And this brilliantly illustrates why Odin is such a game changer. Let's contrast the old workflow with the new one. In the old Lua and Love2D setup, managing dependencies and scaling logic was just a constant uphill battle. But Odin, especially when paired with the Raylib library, shifted the entire paradigm. The source developer points out that Raylib's interfaces are vastly superior to Love2D's. For example, rendering is incredibly intuitive now. You basically just draw a texture to a source rectangle. Want it upside down? Just flip the rectangle. Want it scaled? Adjust the size. By simplifying rendering to just sources and destinations, Odin and Raylib let the developers stop fighting the framework and actually focus on the game itself. In fact, in this new Odin version, Level 2 is already up and running with auto-generated Perlin noise backgrounds and fully functioning pathing. It's wild. Now, what's really fascinating is how Odin pulls off this smooth workflow. It has this built-in vendor importing system. Seriously, if you want to build a 2D game, you completely bypass wrestling with complex third-party package managers. Things like SDL3, Raylib, the Box 2D physics engine, Core JSON parsing, even curl. They are literally all just built right in. They're ready to use right out of the box. You can get off the ground making a game immediately with effectively 0 messy external dependencies. It is an absolute dream scenario for game developers. Section 3, explicit function overloading, predictable control. Let's move into our first major technical solution and see how Odin's specific language features tame the architectural chaos of that old 80,000-line codebase. So, function overloading traditionally gets a bit of a bad rap in programming, mostly because it can be super confusing to track which version of a function is actually running at any given time. But Odin does something different. It uses explicit function overloading. You don't just dump a bunch of identically named functions into your code and cross your fingers that the compiler guesses right. No way. You have to explicitly declare exactly which limited specific functions are allowed to override a singular function name. Think of it like a bouncer at an exclusive club checking a very strict VIP list. It's totally predictable and heavily controlled. Let's look at how this actually works in the game's logic. In a grid-based tower defense game, you are constantly trying to find specific cells on the board. So, step 1 in Odin, you define cell index and explicitly declare its allowed overrides. Step 2, somewhere in your game logic, you call cell index, and you can pass it either a direct coordinate or you can pass it a specific row and integer. Step 3, the Odin compiler safely and automatically routes the data exactly where it needs to go. It completely prevents the chaos of the old Lewis system, all while keeping the code incredibly clean and easy to read. Section 4. Smart structs and memory management, the using keyword. But routing data is really only half the battle, right? You also have to manage that data efficiently in memory, which brings us to another fantastic feature in Odin. So check out the elegant simplicity of the using keyword. In this game, a coordinate is just a row and a column, and every single square on the game board is a cell. By dropping the phrase using coordinates inside the cell struct, that cell seamlessly inherits the properties of a coordinate. It's basically like adopting a child and instantly getting all their toys. You don't have to write bloated accessor methods to reach that nested data. It just works. And here is where it pays off entirely. Because of that using keyword, if a function requires a coordinate, you can literally just pass the entire cell into it. Odin automatically converts it and extracts the coordinate for you without any manual wrangling on your end. The source developer noted that as long as you have a basic mental model of how manual memory management works, picking up Odin and utilizing these elegant structural tricks is incredibly fast and intuitive. It significantly speeds up your programming process. Now, given the reality of modern game development, we really have to ask, does AI coding assistance actually work well with a relatively niche language like Odin? And the answer from our source is a resounding yes. The developer used AI tools, specifically Composer, to generate the JSON data loaders for the different levels of the game, and it was totally seamless. The AI didn't get confused by Odin's syntax, and it didn't try to force in another language. It just pumped out the feature in almost no time. Section 5. Returning to joyful coding, escaping the copilot seat. But wait, if AI is so fast and efficient, why on earth isn't our developer just letting AI write the whole game? This brings us back to the emotional and philosophical core of today's explainer. So the crucial point is this. Our source developer realized that over the last year, chasing the constant promises of AI programming was actually killing their passion. If you contrast the hollow burnout of the AI copilot experience with the rewarding feeling of manual creation, the differences are stark. Yes, AI lets you move incredibly fast if you don't care deeply about the underlying systems. But if you do care, you end up feeling completely disconnected. You feel like a passive copilot just sitting there saying, hey, maybe turn left here, without actually knowing how the engine works. Manual creation, on the other hand, forces a slower, intentional pace. It builds a deep understanding, and most importantly, it brings back the genuine joy of programming. Getting out of that AI copilot seat and diving manually into Odin has completely reignited our developers' curiosity. Just look at the advanced concepts they're excited to tackle next. We're talking swizzling vectors, migrating from arrays of structures to structures of arrays for performance gains, and even the wild idea of co-developing the exact same game simultaneously in Jonathan Blow's highly expressive programming language, Jai, just to compare them side by side. This isn't about rushing to launch a product anymore. It's about the pure, unadulterated exploration of systems. And that brings us to a truly powerful realization from our source material. Programming didn't start as just some highly paid job for this developer. It started as a real passion. Choosing Odin, dumping the messy Lua code, rejecting the hollow speed of full AI generation, it was all about getting back to the roots and reclaiming the love of the game. So I want to leave you with this thought today. In your own daily grind of pushing code, dealing with massive frameworks, and managing prompt engineering, what was it that initially sparked your own love for coding? And maybe, just maybe, is it time for you to build something structured, beautiful, and completely manual, just for the joy of it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it inspired you to get back to your own roots.